And Chris, I'll let you take it away. I do have a little, just an update on communications from people that want to be on the committee and not. So, and that's not really on the agenda, but can I just make an announcement about that now?
Please do.
Okay. Yeah. So as a response to the email that I sent out, I have heard back from Bob Auld, and he has said that he does not want to continue on with as a member of the committee. And Sandy Fukumoto has also said, it looks like you have a lot of people that are well qualified, so I'm going to step back, but I would like to be kind of continue to follow the progress of the committee. Judy Thomas has indicated that she still definitely wants to be on the committee. And Jeff, who is on the call tonight, has also said that he would like to be part of the committee. I've received emails from him, and I think that is all that I received emails from. I haven't heard anything from Richard Fry. And Scott Coughlin's email bounced back to me. So I'm not sure what happened with that, but I did hear from him before, and he said that he was following. So I think that probably he's not interested in being part of the committee. That's it.
Mary, this is a LICA committee, informally, Tuesday night. Hopefully we can formalize that and make it an actual LICA committee. Our president will have to appoint Chris as president.
Okay, that's something we can do. So, but I'll have a list of all the people, I guess, that are on it. So I think it's probably all the people that are here tonight, plus Judy Thomas. I think yeah. And Paul, you're not on the committee.
No.
But you're just a follower.
Yes.
So yeah, so I think it's everybody here, with the exception of Judy Thomas, has said that, and with the exception of Paul, that's on tonight, has said that they are interested in being part of the committee. And then Judy Thomas and Nick Kluge are not here, and also Christine Green is not here right now, so they may come a little bit later. But so there's like Judy, Nick, Christine that aren't here right now. So that's it.
I wonder how long Lane can hold that smile like that.
It's a gift. And I'm a ventriloquist. Yay!
All right, Mary, are we ready to get going then on the rest of the agenda?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right, I actually am going to ask Jeff. Jeff, can you tell us a little bit about yourself? I don't remember hearing an introduction from you. I'd like to know a little bit about you.
Sure, Chris, and you helped me with my buoy earlier this summer when I had a runaway buoy, so we have met. Yeah, so I'm took over a cabin from my in-laws out there in Isle Air on Taft about 2 years ago, and we're actually looking at working, becoming full-time island residents. But we split our time out there. I've have my son out there now, but been living, basically there full-time since last spring. I'm, Bellingham, lifelong resident. Grew up in the grocery business. So yeah, I'm connected to that business. Still work for that company, and I, public service background. I've, definitely served on plenty of committees and that. I did a term on the Bellingham School Board. So I've, got a little bit of the, little tiny bit of political connection, from that standpoint, but, and definitely a lifelong connection to boating and that. And so I do have an interest from that standpoint. And I also understand definitely the need for emergency access to the island is an important part. And, whatever form it takes, I'm going to support, but, I certainly would love to be able to get people on a boat without rowing them out in my inflatable. I have an 85-year-old mother. I'd love to take her out in my boat someday, but that's not going to happen in that procedure unless I go to Bellingham, and that's not out of the question. And so we do have options when it comes to those kind of things, but the instances on the island, where we're not able to access the water or the mainland at times is definitely has a concern. So I'm here to help however I can. And, I've been through, not personally, but through my father building a dock on the saltwater in Chucknut Bay, and, know the legal challenges behind that, and that there's definitely more money in legal costs than there is in actually building the dock. And so there's, hopefully if it's a county effort, some of that goes away, but docks are challenging. So like I said, I'm here to help however I can.
Wonderful. Thanks, Jeff. Did you have an opportunity to listen to the other meetings we've had?
I've listened to the first half of the just the past meeting. Yes.
Okay.
And I'll
So
follow up
familiar
on
with
them.
what we discussed.
Yeah.
Good.
Mhm.
Good. I see Nick's joined us too. So welcome, Nick. Glad you're here. I just want to say thank you to all of you to be willing to work on this all together. I look forward to pressing forward in this matter. Number 1 and number 5, we kind of want to tie together tonight for the purpose of, as Larry was bringing up, we had another instance where the ferry was out for a very short time, but nonetheless, we had a couple on island that needed to get across to get to a doctor's appointment in Seattle for cancer surgery, and they were able to get over and get down there in time. So we're thankful for that. And once again, difficulty of getting them on the boat. They met me down at Village Point Marina. I was able to load them easily on the little Boston Whaler because it's got a real low bow and no rail in front. So I was able to get them on and bomb them over real quick. So once again, we had a situation where we needed it. We've talked about the focus of this group is getting a long-term public accessible dock. And the goal is to get something permanently installed, whether it be something that is removable in the rough weather months, but something that we can have that public will be able to access, because the county said that we're not going to let you access anything that's connected to the ferry dock. That doesn't change, however, as Mary and I discussed, the importance of maybe even improving what's at the ferry dock to allow us to use, such as my landing craft with anybody who would be willing to operate it, anything just to get us down to the water with people not having to scurry over the rocks. So we still want to pursue that. Mary and I talked about combining that with the Lummi Island Ferry Advisory Committee. Some of you are involved in that, and asking them, what can we do to help them and getting them to communicate to the county? We need at least a set of stairs down to the water. As simple as that will make a world of difference. So that's why I'm saying kind of combining 1 and 5 in the sense that we still need something more immediate, but if we don't start the process now, we'll be that many more years out before anything happens, right? So number 1, confirming the committee name and purpose amongst us. Are we all on board with it being a public dock that we would like to see established at the community or county park located in front of the Beach Store Cafe? Is everyone in agreement with that?
Makes sense to me.
Yes.
Anybody opposed to that idea? Any comments?
I think it will be a long process, but, and I think that we need to start advocating for it. And so I'm pleased that, that this committee is starting to investigate and do that. I think that's great. I still think that we need to be looking at working on the short-term emergency egress and ingress issues. I think that big things will get taken care of in the future. Like when the new ferry dock comes in, they will have a place that people can access and land. But it may not be where the public can do that. It will definitely not be where the public can do that.
Correct. Alan?
Chris,
Yeah,
Chris, or Alan, sorry.
we had already made the name Boat Access Committee. The purpose that we're talking about is to eventually have a public dock. Right?
Up to you guys. I don't care what it's called, but
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
boat,
think the-
boat access is pretty generic.
okay.
it may be helpful to be real specific and say, if our purpose is specifically to put in a dock, a public dock, I think we actually ought to be talking about as the name of the committee and have our focus as that. One of the things that I don't know if you guys have seen it, but the foundation and is committed itself in the old quarry to not only have a helicopter landing spot, but also have a place to bring in a like a landing craft kind of landing, there as part of their project. So it may be helpful to focus what we're doing and say exactly, we want to do a dock. And not, just say access, because we're going to have, somebody's going to, well, there's already going to be access down at the quarry now, or there's access at Scenic Estates. So something to think about.
Chris,
Yeah, I think I would, oh, sorry.
the 60 feet in front of the beach store already has that existing stairway in very good condition. But I think I can't quite envision people in serious physical condition getting down the stairs.
Yeah. Well, Paul, we're going to come back to the design of it and what that would look like later on in this discussion. Right now, we're going to focus in on establishing the committee name and what we want to be known by. Item number 1 in our agenda.
Hey, Chris,
But
can you hear me?
We're going to bring up that thought later, Paul. Dave?
Okay.
Yeah, okay, good. You can hear me. I wasn't sure. I think I agree with Tim on this in that everything that we've talked about for emergency access, landing craft, emergency medical can really be good sort of background information for this document we need to put together that will define why and what we want and why we want it. But like we talked about last week, I don't think we want to just confuse emergency medical access with what we're trying to do here. Because as you said, Chris, we want a public dock accessible by, by the public, not county officials or captains or whatever, right?
Correct.
So I think that would be a good way to focus it.
Makes sense.
Any other thoughts on that?
Yeah, this is Lane. And that was, I think, I feel like there's two things that we're talking about short term and long term. I've heard people use those phrases anyway. And maybe what we'll want to do by the end of this discussion is kind of come up and say, do we actually have to? If we do, I think it would be safer to then say, okay, emergency. Yeah, and I mean, what else? What other term do you? We talked about using the term urgent and trying to separate that from emergency. If you give examples, I think that that's a good way of illustrating what you mean by urgent. And I suspect that we'll go over like the next 5 years trying to get people to understand the difference between what do you currently have and where is the gap and why is this important. So I bet tonight we won't resolve this.
Any other thoughts?
I agree. I agree that the name is very
Yeah,
important,
we gotta
and I'll go
focus on
along with
item-
whatever.
You need to focus on item 1, which is establishing the name and boat access, the boat access committee with a subtitle as perhaps Alan, with the focus on obtaining a peer would be appropriate. I don't know if you want to make the actual title of the committee the peer advocacy group or whatever you want to call it. So,
I'm just here to make it do whatever you want. And just put my 2 cents in personally. I think the name is very important. I agree. I think it should have clarity of what our goal is. And if we want to focus on the public doc access, or urgent access, or however you want to do it, it should be a good, concise, short name, like an elevator speech. You know?
well, yeah, well, actually, so public doc for public doc for boat access would pretty much say what we're trying to do, right?
I think it does.
So maybe that's why we should call it that.
That's a little long for a name.
Public doc.
Public doc committee, I'm okay with.
Public boat access.
Say again, Nick, or whoever that was.
I was just saying public boat access.
Public doc access.
Simply, guys, it is public doc. That's what it really comes down to in its simplest form, right?
Public dock means that. It means boat access. So public dock, that's exactly what it means. If that's where we're gonna go, I say, let's make it to the point and do whatever. And we have, the other issues are very important, but they're I think they're really background to what is going on. And there's the things happening that I'm worried that we're going to be kind of pushed back on and say, well, no, you got all these other access things coming up now. They're going to do these things at the quarry, county's going to do this other thing. You can always go over to wherever. And if we focus on what we want to accomplish in both establishing the name, I think that tells us where we're going.
And one thing with the quarry that is out there long-term too, it's not something that will be
Absolutely.
immediately.
And a long way from.
And it will not be, and I believe my understanding of that is that it will be for strictly emergency use to,
Yes.
if they have to land a landing craft to bring in fire resources for the hill and stuff like that, or to evacuate people from scenic estates in the event of a fire and they were cut off from the ferry. So I think that's it's not going to be just a launch ramp or something like that. That's not what they have in the scope of their plans.
Well, I like the way Tim put it. He said a boat dock means boat access, but emergency access does not mean a dock. And so
No.
I think, just as Chris said, plain and simple, we want a boat dock.
Public
So-
doc.
So do you,
Yeah.
can I entertain a motion of making it the public doc committee?
I'll second that.
Aye. Are we voting?
Well, Chris has to do that.
Okay.
All in favor?
All right.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay.
All right, look, number one's done. That's progress. Now we got her. All right, number 2.
So just
I
before we
realize-
move on, is Mary, I just wonder, are you, do you feel like we're hijacking the cause of emergency access, or are you good with what we're saying?
I'm a little concerned, but I think we can talk about it in number 5, emergency needs with the Ferry Advisory Committee, because I was approached by Rama on that, so I need to talk about that when we get down there.
Plus what we're talking about is urgent need. If it's an
Yeah.
actual emergency, county's gonna come do whatever is necessary, helicopter or whatever. It's the urgent stuff that we're missing.
And that can be brought up in number 5, like Mary
Yeah,
said.
that's why we'll get to number 5 tonight, I
Yeah.
hope. So,
Yeah, let's keep pressing on. So number 2, establish what the dock will look like and how we get there. It's number 4 on our list of things that Terry set for us to establish. Now, I realize that's not going to be finished tonight by any means. Have any of you taken time to research what something like this might look like? That you have anything to share with us tonight? Mary, go ahead.
yeah, there's the thing from the Sinclair Island that I posted up on the website. Has anybody had a chance to review those documents that I put on the website?
Yes.
Okay, because they had, a couple of things that they had done to, like you have a pier, you have a ramp, and then you have a float. And there's different ways of doing floats. The float is the most vulnerable part of any kind of a pier structure. What I am thinking is I am seeing this to be like a loading and unloading dock, and not a place where people can tie up for overnight stays or anything like this. I don't know, like what is it that's what I also want to know, is like, what is it that we're thinking about? Because I know a lot of county docks. I've tied up at a lot of them in my lifetime. And, they'll have like a yellow loading zone that is just in and out. And then they'll have maybe like a 2-hour tie-up place or something like that if you want to go up to the store or something. But if you're in the loading zone, you're not really allowed to leave your boat, there unattended for more than about, go up to the bathroom or something, and then come back. So I think we need to think about that, because one thing that I don't think would be a real good thing, because I know this happens on Lummi Island, is that you have a public dock and we have a public parking lot over at the ferry landing, and a lot of people park their private boats or buses and stuff like that there and just leave it. So I don't want to have something like that happen. So I think we need to have that conversation as a group, like, what is it that we want? And I see it more as like a pier, that people could enjoy a pier. And but I don't foresee it as something that's like a state park dock where you've got picnic tables sitting on the dock and stuff like that. So I think I would like to hear from the rest of you, is like what you think this dock should look like.
Larry?
Well, if we're considering the park district as our source for building a dock,
Mhm.
we're gonna take pilings. We're gonna actually have to have a pier that'll extend out past the rock berms that we have out there at low tide. And then you'd have a ramp, and you'd have a float. So it would be just very similar to what we see all around the islands. Like James Island has got a really nice setup like that. And the way that you would protect the float is something that would have to be engineered in the future. But as far as a pier, dock suspended by piers is going to be substantial and permanent. And then you figure out how you're going to handle the float would be something else, but that's what it's going to take if we're going to have it at the park, at the county park. I had another question on the quarry. We know the county's invested into the quarry. Is that through the park department or is that just through the public works? Anybody know that, Chris?
So according to Terry, who's in charge of the Parks Department out here, from my understanding, there was a $400,000 payment to them, ensuring that there would be mooring balls and beach access for boats that are moored out in front. Beyond that, that's all I know.
Mhm.
But that is through the park department.
Yes.
Yes,
All right.
I
So
think-
we actually have 2 county parks on the island, and if you want to look at it that way, so.
Well, there's
Well,
there's already a park. I mean, that's one of the neat things about the idea of using the existing little park. We adding a pier to effectively to the existing park, which I could, you can think about how that pier might be used. Float, which is the access. So, and basically we're 2 different ends of the island for different purposes. So I think it's actually good to be able, when we talk to the Parks Department, say, well, look, you are doing that. What about this part? Because I think that the quarry and that whole development down there really is a whole different, kind of thing. And it's not, if I can, it's not really island centric,
So the
If
blue
I
dot
could
road-
jump in here on the dock design. So one thing that's really important there before you get into design really is location. Because if you're depending on what the tidelands look in front of you, you may have to go out further than you really want just to get beyond eelgrass. If you're dealing with that, then you have to build with materials that let sunlight through. It's a whole mess of things that you got to work your way through to do that. But I totally, I'd be looking for a pier, ramp, and a float. But it could, you might be talking a 40-foot pier, or you may be talking a 150-foot pier, which will obviously elevate the cost dramatically.
Just so you guys have some understanding of what is existing there, as I've dove out there many, many times, the old pilings from the old ferry dock are scattered still in a large area out there. They are still in the ground. They are disintegrating over time, but there are still many of the pilings still left. So there's a precedence for a dock being there in the past already.
Right.
So I don't know if that is a good thing or a bad thing. It's just, that's what I know to be the case. So it sounds like we're all kind of looking at the same type of deal up here, the ramp and a floating dock, whatever that might look like. I've made a call to 3 different companies that install docks. One was in South Puget Sound. The only one I heard back from, they said they're not interested in helping in the San Juans, but he said, make sure that we deal with companies that have done work in this area. They'll have a wealth of information and experience to help us through. So as soon as I get information back from them, I will be sharing that with you guys. And if anybody else has any leads, let us know. We want, we need more information on this end of it. So please continue to investigate that.
Chris?
So Chris, I had a question on that, actually. Sorry.
Go ahead, Dave.
The documents that Mary uploaded, it looked like that was there was an engineering firm that put forth a few different proposals, right? Which it sounds like where you're starting to go towards, Chris. And what I'm wondering is how does that get paid for? I mean, it looked like it was a fair amount of work that was done for that proposal. And the more that work is done, I think the better chance of the proposal succeeding. But I don't know how that was covered or paid for.
Yeah, I have no clue myself, other than I'm willing to pitch in and make it happen. Beyond that, Terry, when speaking with her, she made mention that her district of parks has millions of dollars available. Now, I don't know if they're willing to part with some of that for us or not. I have no idea. I am not a political guy, but I know that a lot of us want it. We're the taxpayers. There's got to be a way we can get it.
Right. I actually think that one of the things that we may want to start, maybe put on the agenda next time is we need to really start talking with the Parks Department, just kind of opening the door and kind of seeing where this is going to go. Because, Lummi Island, we're not going to be able to get everybody in Lummi Island to contribute enough to do this thing. It really is a county, it would be a really, would need to be a county activity. So, and the Parks Department is a logical place for it to work. Public Works isn't going to want to talk with us at all about any of this kind of stuff. So, I've already kind of got that. So, but Parks would be open to it because we actually are pitching increasing and kind of developing, the park that already exists. And I think that's a way to really start, get them hooked into the idea. And then the whole idea of having access, just adds weight to the, to the discussion.
Yeah,
So-
another point on that is you guys mentioned the buoys down by Easton. So I assume those are going to be marine park buoys like are scattered around all the San Juans. Is that right?
They'll probably be like DNR buoys but they'll be put in like regular park buoys. Yeah.
And
In
they're
going to be in the cove. They're going to do I'm sure they're going to do the screw pile, screw anchors, like I ended up
Mhm.
having mine and that kind of stuff. So they'll be good ones.
So the intent though is there for general public use, right?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
that's,
And it's also going to be a campground there. So it's not just like for Lummi folks.
yeah,
It's-
right.
Let's
Okay.
bring people to the island.
Yeah, so that's great news. And I think, as you mentioned, maybe, I don't want to get greedy here, but to cover Mary's concern about people staying overnight at the dock or what have you, maybe we pepper in a couple of marine park buoys nearby this dock. And it sort of continues that park expansion idea you described. I'm just throwing it out there, but right. So
That's possible. I mean, that's again, to me, that's part of the trying to get the Parks Department to come
yes.
in with us and maybe eventually, making them think that they made that, it was their idea and they could.
Exactly.
Mary?
Exactly.
Yeah, and I don't want you to think that I don't want people like, staying overnight on the dock and stuff like that. I'm not against that because that can be something by increasing boater access to downtown Lummi. Like people could come over from Bellingham for the morning to go to the Saturday market, and it would help the artist. They could come over, and if the beach store ever opens again, they could have lunch at the beach store or breakfast at the beach store. And that's a great thing that lots of communities have put in public docks to attract boaters, because there's a lot of boaters out there who like going to places like that. Like, people will go over to Olga and walk down that really long public dock just to go up to the bakery, and it's just,
It's a nice bakery.
it's a lovely bakery. I haven't been there in a bazillion years, but
Consider,
so
So
there's
Mary,
that
you're
too.
really tying into number 3, and I'm going to push us forward here so we don't get bogged down, because we can get in details on this stuff and we're never going to get anything done. So, but that ties directly into number 3, drafting a statement answering why we want this. We need to come up with a clear, concise statement of why we want it, according to Terry. And that's one of the items, number 5 on our list of things to do in order to be able to get something like this accomplished, and what they want to see as a Parks Department. So Tim, just reminding you that the 7 things that I received from Terry is what the Parks Department said, this is what you need to do and what we want to see. So in our discussions, if we have these clearly labeled and understood, then that's going to go a long ways with them. But I guess we didn't finish up on number 2. I would like to say it's obvious that we're not there yet. But are we willing to all do a little homework and see what we can come up with of what something like that might look like, and next meeting have a little more clarity on that? Maybe something you can share on screen with us. I will have stuff available by next meeting. So if
Okay.
nobody else does, I will.
Chris, are you talking about things like the, I think it was called the CAN doc that you found?
Yeah,
That looked pretty interesting. I think you said it was expensive and maybe.
they all are.
Yeah,
honestly, but-
right. But I think in the spirit of where you're going, it sounds like what you want to do is we could put forth a draft of this 7-point proposal, right? To get our thoughts down on paper and then refine that and refine that and refine that. Maybe we can even get a first pass to have Terry look at it and then see, okay, if we need to do some kind of engineering study and that's going to take some money, can we get that help from the Parks Department? Or is that accurate? Is that what you're thinking?
Yeah, that's exactly right, Dave. And actually my agenda is following that flow right now, going through the numbers.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
The seven things that we're required to do. And that's why we're working through it.
Okay, great.
So
Yeah, makes sense.
I'd like to move us to number 3. We need to draft a statement answering why we want this. It's number 5 on the list of things we need to do. Why do we want it? Some of you've already mentioned it, but let's repeat it so we can get it in the notes.
Chris, why don't we all put down what we just discussed, what we think we want, and then submit all of our findings to you or to, and then you can filter it out and condense it into a statement rather than try to just do it here tonight, because I think we all have an idea of what we'd like to see to see and how to approach the county, the parks on it. So I'd like more time to just develop.
When you're coming up the reasons why too, think about rebuttals to reasons why not. You know, because people are going to have reasons why not.
Yeah, a lot of them.
Mhm.
Well, good. And if you're good at reasons why not, make sure you make them known here so we can be ahead of the curve, right?
Yeah,
Lane, I'm
absolutely.
going to call on you because just reading the notes that you've already done already, you're way good at writing. Is it possible for you to word for us a draft statement answering why we want this with the information you have thus far?
I would say right now, no. I mean, I
Okay.
could come up with a super brief statement, but I'm afraid that your point is that it then is going to be shredded because it's not going to be thorough enough. So I think it's, I can really see Larry's point though, because maybe go away and think about it and then write up yours. Because once we consolidate them, it's easier, I think, in written form to see where the similarities are. I do think it'd be interesting to have the pros and cons, because I will bet, I mean, this is something we're each going to have to learn, like the elevator discussion, which then turns into there's someone holding the door while it goes ding, 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 while they ask you 17 more questions. And the more we can all say, we did think about that, we have talked about that, and we are in cohesion with how we would respond to that. So I think this probably is a head scratcher for a little longer before we come up with even a pre-draft.
Okay, great. Thanks for making that known. Alan?
Yeah, just a quickie. I already changed the website so it says public.committee. And the only thing I would suggest is that as soon as possible, we put something on that page, because there are other people looking at this, that we put something in here that says our intent to handle like the urgent need issues and stuff like that.
Right.
So to keep the fires from being stoked. So, and I'd like to put that maybe be above background. So just a little blurb, just to quell the problems before they show up.
Thank you, Alan. Okay. So Larry, loving your idea. Lane concurs. We'll all work towards getting some reasons why we want this. A couple were listed on the list that Terry made emphatic impression on me that these are of great value to build off of. So if you remember those from the notes, you guys, and then add and subtract as you want, and rebuttals, sounds great. So next week when we come together, we'll go over that more. Sound good?
Mhm.
Good to me.
Let's get to number 4.
Chris, can I make
Oh.
a suggestion? Maybe that I sent out, so everybody that's on the committee has everybody's email. Maybe we could just send an email and CC it to everybody, or, people could email this before the meeting, our next meeting.
Or
And then we can
email
look-
it to Lane so she can compile it.
Yeah, anybody. So just email it to somebody. They can compile the whole list, and then we can have everybody's input. And then it's easier for me to sit and look over that and mull on stuff and get other people's ideas and combine stuff in. So if I can have it just in front of me to look at before a meeting.
So if you just have a whole group in an email, I can reply to all and it'll go to everybody, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Alan, do you want to, I do think from tonight, we could probably still get at least a couple of sentences, right? And I can see your point about putting out a little longer, but clear statement.
Yeah, something to keep people from hyperventilating instantly, because the title of the page now says public doc committee. I think we need to be careful that we define that at least a little bit quickly on this page so nobody goes ballistic.
Alan, if there's something that you intend to do immediately by posting this on their website, can you compose the statement before you post it so we can see what you're going to say?
I don't really want to compose it. I just want to be the worker bee. I'm a technical writer. I'm not good at what I call the warm and fuzzy.
Okay, so who's going to compose the statement then? Any
And I
volunteers?
suggest that we try to use what Terry suggested. I don't have it in front of me. Does anybody have what
What, the 7 things?
done notes?
Yeah. Well, all I have is the actual list of 1 through 7. That
No, I'm talking about our thing of we're looking for a public doc to solve this following problem.
Well, how about this? I'll throw one out there.
Dave?
I'll just wing it, but just to try and summarize what we've said, is that the intent of the committee is to work with Whatcom County Parks Department to establish a community dock to provide access, or to provide boater access to and from Lummi Island in times of need when the ferry is out of service, for example.
I just leave the last part of that sentence out. The first, what you're saying, it sounds like would be a good statement, but I don't think we need to address the emergency issue right with
Right,
that.
yeah, that's a good point.
Agreed.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. I guess I was trying to fend off the naysayers if I was reading between the lines correctly.
Hey, Dave, can you repeat that? for
I
me?
don't know.
Oh, you don't have it written down? Well done.
No, I
It's recorded. Mary will have it.
It is recorded.
Yeah.
Okay,
You do have it. I just wanted to hear it again.
I could try.
Go ahead.
Good.
Yeah.
The intent of the committee is to work with Whatcom County Parks Department to establish a community dock. I kind of like that word.
There you go.
To provide boat access to and from Lummi Island.
period.
period. Yeah, I guess.
And I think because, yeah, that's perfect. Thank you. And I think that we could still go on and just say, this addresses the need for urgent public access versus emergency response that the county is already responsible for.
Right.
Something like
When
that.
and add something about when the ferry is not
Yeah.
operating or
Yeah.
something. You're good. We already tap with it.
And thinking about it just now, I wonder if we want to phrase it as not just boat access, but I don't know, maybe small boat access, just to distinguish between landing craft and commercial boats that, and I think it will be important somewhere in the statement to highlight, maybe not in the statement, but in the description to highlight the fact that the county will not allow public access to the new dock at the ferry terminal.
We just say non-commercial then.
Yeah, that,
Recreational, yeah.
yeah,
Recreational, I like that.
okay, yeah, that's
If we
good.
can at
Um,
least keep the top blurb a little short, sweet and to the point, like you had, don't get too many qualifiers in there. That at least covers us for now. We can expand it later.
I do like the recreational term. I think that gets to the point I was trying to make.
And I kind of think the word public dock is better than community dock, because if we are approaching park and rec for the county, then when you say community dock, it sounds like it's something just for the Lummi Island community.
point.
So I would avoid that point.
Good point, right?
Yeah, good point.
I think I was trying to address the Lummi Island community.
Right, and I think if we're asking for, and I think that we also need to, so I think in that we're gonna eventually need to have like the safety aspect, and just even a wider aspect, like, we could have like an area where people could go fishing or crabbing, maybe on the pier. Because there's a lot of folks that, don't
Yeah.
have boats, that they might like to drop a crab pot and, a ring trap or something, and that's going to help get more general support from the community and the county, I think.
Yeah, the parks
That's a good one.
department definitely loves the community mindset. How will this
Mhm.
benefit the community? And that is definitely a huge one.
Yeah, and we just
So
have to
is
define.
that enough, Alan? What Dave said? Can you
Yeah.
go with that?
I think so. If somebody just writes it up and sends it to me, I think that'll work.
Dave, can you type that up right now in message and send that to him? And
Oh,
we
he
can
does
all
it.
see it on here.
I actually have it. Let me
Oh,
see.
good,
if I-
thank you.
if I have-
Even better.
Man, she's fast.
Even better.
Let me just finish reading it and make sure I have all the words in.
Mary, do you have screen share on?
I will turn it on just a second. Thank you. Allow participants to screen share. It's on.
Okay, hang on just a second. Let me. Okay, that went to everybody, but you should be able to. Pull that up, Mary?
Yep. The community, yeah. Oops, it just went away though, so.
If you
Yeah.
click on it, there should be a
Click on
window
the
open.
chat, click on the chat button in the center of your screen at the bottom.
The chat button.
You might have to do more. You might have to go to the
right
more
next to
menu.
participants.
Uh-huh.
Yes.
Yeah, just that, and you should be able to see that.
And I'll hit it again, so it might pop up for you.
And I think at this point, if we say the committee will work with Whatcom County Parks and Rec Department to establish a public dock. I think that that's putting the cart before the horse a little bit. When
Okay,
you're saying it will work with.
Can we add
Hopes to
hopes?
work with, aspires or something,
Intends.
intends or will
Intends is-
investigate, we'll investigate. Or we'll come up with a proposal or something.
Yeah, Lane,
But
you can screen share and we can see what you're typing correctly.
oh, okay. Let me see if Mary, let me see if Mary has that available.
Oh, I asked
you
her
do.
to turn it on. Yeah.
Yeah, you just hit the green button
Yeah.
and then you can share what you're typing on the screen too.
Hang on 2 seconds. Let me just grab. Here we go.
Ooh, there you go.
Is it big enough? Can people read it?
Yeah.
Let me make it. There you go.
Wider.
Yeah, investigate is a good word.
Yeah, that looks good.
Sounds good to me.
And we don't want to mention the urgent needs part of the puzzle at all yet.
I don't think so.
Yeah, that's a good start. It just something, to
Yeah.
say what we're up about.
If we're able to get it together, to get our statements all consolidated, and Alan has a chance to update the website, that'll be within a week or so. So
Oh.
hopefully that's enough.
I already updated it once tonight while we were talking. I can do this again.
Awesome.
Just throw that that text into the chat and I'll pull it and put it on the site
You bet.
and turn off your screen share.
All righty.
All right, so I think we can move on.
Yeah.
So the agenda number 4, discussing what the ongoing care would look like. It's an important one, according to Terry, of what that will ultimately look like. Obviously, this is the beginning discussion of it. It's number 7 on the list, but it is something that we need to start thinking about. What would that look like? Obviously, there's some of us that would love to volunteer to be caretakers of it. And I don't want to say policemen of it, but hey, you can go down the quarry and anchor up instead of here, whatever. So thoughts, go.
Well, you can't actually do that at all because Heritage Trust will not unlock that gate unless it's absolutely necessary.
Well, there's no gate if you're by boat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One thing I was going to throw out there, I don't know how many of you still get the Herald, but I get it online or digitally. And there was an article today about the 100-acre wood in South Bellingham. And, that is akin to kind of what we're doing here. It was a community effort to put something together in a neighborhood. They ended up putting what I would call maybe a local improvement district, a tax on that community. It's not a big one, but I'm not suggesting taxes right now. I'll leave that for if we have to. But I'll spend some time this week and try and look back at their process they went through to get to turning that property into a park. I mean, that was a $8 million purchase by the city to save some forest land for public use, but they didn't put any parking or anything. It's really more for the community than it is for the whole city. And just like this dock would be more for the Lummi Island residents than it would be for the whole of Whatcom County, but we are going to ask for the whole county to pitch in, since we pitch in for everything around the rest of the county. So like with that said, I'll look a little bit into their process of how they got approval and who they approached and how they did that, because that was what they had the Greenways money in Bellingham, which was a little bit allotted for those kind of things. But I'll follow their process and see if I can pull anything out of that.
Thanks, Jeff. That'll be great work.
And
If I may, on the, as far as item 7, on how to manage it, I mean, if in fact it ever became a reality and the Parks Department put this in, they would be responsible for maintaining it, just like they do all their other facilities. So I don't think we would have to have a hands-on involvement in it as far as maintaining it or policing it. It would be a Park Department responsibility.
Mary?
so what do we have when we have somebody that decides to tie their boat up there and walks away, goes home, leaves it,
Well, that's gonna,
and it's blocking the
What
thing?
then you're
It's
wrapped up next to him and you walk across his boat, because you're not gonna be able to police it. And if it's posted that it's for loading and unloading only, or that you have a 2-hour limit and people don't adhere to that, and then that's on them. And if their boat happens to get untied and goes floating towards Blaine, that's their problem as well. So, this is a long way down the road. First we got to get the pier and the ramp built, then we can worry about how we're going to manage it.
Yeah, I
I
think this
just,
is
but with that,
really
Larry,
discussed.
they do want to see a proposal, the Parks Department, of how it's going to be taken care of after the fact. And Terry made it very clear that they are very concerned with the ongoing costs and the ongoing process of taking care of that. So if we can come up with something that would be mutually beneficial, she says that the Parks Department loves the idea of working together with community members for a long period of time, rather than just here it is, now it's all on you, because they don't have any resources. Alan?
Can I do just a quick screen share?
Mhm.
Just to make sure that this is all right with everybody.
What happened? We just went to a public
Wow.
doc committee. Oh, there you go. That was quick.
Yeah. Hey, it's official.
So does that look all right?
It looks great.
Yeah.
Oh, and then you immediately have the background information there, which I think, yep, I'd have to read it again, but I think it sums up all the issues with the ferry being out of service and provides the good background that's needed to support the intent.
hey,
Yeah,
hey, Chris,
It might need to be updated
Yeah, yeah. I
in
agree.
the changes in the direction that we've gone.
Do
Chris,
you have
just
a
to-
copy? Do you have a copy of the old picture where the new ferry dock is there and the old one was still there? So to give people an idea that there actually was a pier, to Chris's comment earlier. I've seen that
Paul?
photo recently, and
Paul probably got it.
I
Paul
have,
has one, I'm sure.
there is a photo, there is a photo on the website in the community gallery of the old ferry dock, but I don't know if it shows the new dock as well simultaneously. Let me go look at it.
Paul, do you know if something like that exists?
Oh, there are several pictures of the old ferry dock.
Yeah.
Several,
Yeah,
many.
Do you know of any that show the old dock and the new dock before the old dock burned down?
I couldn't answer that.
Okay.
Tim, you were going to say something?
I was, just to get back to your point about, I guess, the dock and how it gets taken care of after it gets done. I mean, is the county, when you're in your discussions, was it about maintenance? Like trash, that kind of stuff? Is it about, who's gonna be kind of dealing with security issues of like boats that are there too long or other problems. Because, you know, one of the things that is true about a public dock, it's a public space.
Mhm.
And, you know, that effectively means there's no control. That go on there. So is that something that we need to address then? Like saying that we want to have owners that are gonna monitor it?
You cut out a little bit there, at least on my end. But if what I'm understanding
Yeah.
you correctly, yes, Terry suggested that we be as thorough as possible in what that might look like and how we can cooperate along. So the more that we can lessen the Parks Department burden, it sounded to me, and we can communicate with Terry anytime. Anybody can call her. She said she invited you to call her, talk to her about these things as much as you'd like. She'll answer any questions. And so, but she said the more thorough we can be, the better. Does that answer your question, Tim?
I think so. I mean, I'm kind of going, just spinning around here. There's going to be issues about trash and about who's going to pay for getting that picked up. People have boats, they're going to put it in a trash. That's real mundane stuff. But that's the kind of thing I think we're going to end up having to sort out here at some point, because it's not just going to be a free empty space that's going to maintain itself.
So if I may, I'm going to back down on my previous comments on letting them take care of it. Reference the ferry parking lot, which we had made a deal with the county to maintain. We mow it, we put in an orchard, and we look after it. So something like that, trash control, that kind of stuff, miscellaneous painting. Yeah, I think that would be something we could propose to the park department.
Good. So we actually have a model that we can point to then.
Exactly, yeah.
Right? Good. Okay, there you go. That gets us on.
Lane has her hand up.
Thank you. Yeah,
Never seen
I
that.
have, there's a little hand icon. So yeah, one question is about something along the lines of when it's time to bring the floating dock in. Is that a decision we make, or we expect it to just miraculously put itself away? So that might be one aspect of it. And I didn't see any thought on y'all's part of having like any kind of bathroom facility, but will the ferry, I mean, because there's bathrooms at the ferry terminal, but I don't know if there'd be any concern about from the sort of, will that add use to the existing terminal? And is that something we should at some point need to address?
Good question. Good question.
Yeah.
Something that we'll definitely need to think about and address. Paul, go ahead.
Since you hope to have Parks and Rec pay a substantial amount of the cost of this facility, the purpose of the facility should look like it emphasizes park activities, and we will secretly inject emergency service too, but not make that so obvious.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, Paul, you'll notice that Terry, one of the notes I put on that list is that it includes all aspects of any public benefit, including emergencies. So Terry likes that idea too. That's
Okay.
already, so we don't have to hide it so much, I don't think. All right, so it sounds like we're all just going to keep on working on that, and let's come up with some ideas that we can bring to the table next week. If you can email them out ahead of time, reply to all. That I love being able to see what you guys come up with before that. I'll definitely write some stuff up myself and send it. Alan?
I just wanted to say that I am going to create a public document. When I say public, that means committee members, actual members on the committee will have access to a Google Doc online that you can all put your own notes in, committee notes consolidated in one spot.
Wow. Very
That's
cool.
just part of what we do.
Thank you. All right, let's bomb on to number 5 because this is a very important one. And we all know that we still need something more emergent. And my initial thoughts were, let's make use of an existing committee that the Whatcom County Ferry Department already respects and will listen to. And basically Roland Middleton said, you know, that's the way you need to be doing this anyways, when he basically said he would never entertain any public access to the ferry terminal. So those were my thoughts. Your thoughts? How do we get something more emergent going? Can we work with the Ferry Advisory Committee, and what do we want for that? Mary.
I've got my some opinions. Okay. Rama talked to me when she called me to set up the Zoom meeting for LIFAC for this Wednesday. And she would like to have about 5-minute presentation about what this committee is doing and how this committee feels it can best work with LIFAC and what we want to ask LIFAC to do. And we kind of we're just talking, but I think that my kind of 6 cents on it is that we do need to have, I think we need to put together like a little document that says, these are things that have been happening. Like the ferry has been having outages much more frequently than it has. And because it's getting old and it's approaching the end of its life, it's probably going to continue to have all these little outages. And I think that we as islanders, or as an interested group of people that use the ferry, and there's also businesses that come over and gets really screwed up when they have all these little emergency outages. We need something that is faster than waiting for like 2 days. So I think that we need to approach the county and ask them to come up with some kind of an agreement. So if the ferry goes down, and it's going to be down for more than 3 hours, the county needs to have a way to transport people, at least, if not vehicles, across somewhere within like 3 to 5 hours max. Because I don't know, I think Anacortes can do it that fast for the Guaymas ferry. So why do we have to have something that requires docks? So why can't our county get something that has like a contract with a landing craft company that could do a beach landing in several places on the island, to be determined? But at least they could get people off, and in an emergency, a vehicle or an ambulance off and across over to the boat ramp at Gooseberry. So we would need to get a agreement with Lummi Nation that occasionally a landing craft could land at Gooseberry. I don't know. I just feel that is something that I don't want that to get thrown out.
Yeah.
And I think it's also just at least walk-on passenger service in, in a defined amount of time. That could be like, if the ferry is going to be gone down for more than, I don't know, 4 hours or something, then they will get somebody that can come up and start doing passenger runs. That's a legally contracted thing. But because the county's current emergency plan sucks green potty water, it's yuck. Tim?
So you mentioned Glemmies.
Mhm.
And so do you know what arrangements they have, or is there a way for us to find out that information?
I'm going to call Rachel, who's their ferry director there, and talk to her
If,
and see what they do. But
Right.
I see their notes, and you know, I'm on their list for their emergency outages and stuff, and I see that when the Guaymas ferry goes down, you know, they are able to get alternate services, and I don't know what they have as far as dock facilities there. I've never been to Guaymas.
I looked on the Google Maps, and I don't think they have a dock on Guaymas.
I don't think there's a separate dock. There's only a ferry.
Just the ferry dock, right?
Yeah, I remember. Yeah. So, but if they have, however they do it, if they have a boat and they have a contract and they have that set up, and if you find out that information and bring that back to us, that gives us a basis to say, hey, here's another county, because that is a county ferry, right?
Mhm.
So there's another county and this is what they do. And that's a very good Guaymas is a very good comparison with our situation. So if you can follow up and get that information, bring it back to us, or I'll do it if you tell me how to contact people, I'll do it.
I'm glad to make a call to Rachel.
Okay, yeah, if you could do that, then let us know. That may be the basis on which we could present something or have something presented to the Ferry Advisory Committee and say, this is what we're talking about.
Okay. Because, yeah, you know, and I don't know. I think that it's getting pretty ridiculous. You know, like when that person on this week, just right after dry dock, you know, we've been through dry dock, and then we're also like getting like these things like, okay, we have a ferry inspection going on.
Well, right.
Yeah, and we just had, why in the hell, why in the heck did they not do the inspection during dry dock?
Well, that
You know?
Coast Guard.
You know?
The Coast Guard does what they want to do. But I'll also say I had to reschedule a doctor's appointment, you know, for that last ferry outage. So I'm affected.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
So if you can get that stuff from Glemmies, and so we have that'll give us a template, and maybe that's something we can take a look at and say, this is what we're talking about.
Mhm. Okay, I will. I'll call on tomorrow, try to find out what they do.
Mary, I know that I'm going to put my 2 cents in where at the bare minimum, what I would like to see them is get permission from the county to let us install stairs down to the water where I bring my landing craft in to pick people up right underneath the ramp there. That bare minimum, just so people don't kill themselves falling down the rocks or the paraplegic, or I'm sorry, the legless lady who's a para-Olympian who
Mhm.
posted and made it national that she couldn't get up the rocks. So, I mean, bare minimum, just let us put in steps. Well, I'll do the work. I'll go down and I'll put them in, you know,
That's
I'll put in
quick.
stone and some cement.
Quick and easy.
Yeah. But yeah, I think that's what we need to do for Life Act, but we've got to get something that we can get people to the other side. And we also need to have a more formalized arrangement than just going up to the launch ramp for Lummi Nation, because I don't believe that is a public launch ramp. I don't know.
I
Chris,
have
do you know that?
spoken with the guy who runs the dock over there, and if we give him $5, he's happy.
Okay. Okay.
So you're talking about if we're putting in a stairway on Harmony's Beach?
No, I've been coming
North
in on
side.
the north side of the ramp there, right up on the rocks, right at the ferry terminal. That's where I've been picking people up.
On the west side of the terminal,
North side.
North side,
or north or west, yeah, whatever you're.
Yeah.
or-
northwest.
Yeah, northwest, obviously, yeah.
So
Towards the old bear.
at low tide, though, it's an issue though, isn't it?
I've gotten there so far at every tide. It would have to be a very minus tide for me not to be able to access that. And it's actually kind of nice because it's deep by the pilings.
Yeah.
And so as long as I stay close to the pilings, it's deep enough. I can get close enough, even put the ramp on the sand at a super minus tide. But so far I've always been able to come right up to the rocks.
Yeah, and you're really protected in there too, once you get in there.
Exactly.
I have already put up on the committee page a photo contributed by Ed Scott of the old ferry dock, and it's at low tide, so you can see how far out it is and stuff. And I'm going to put another photo in there that I took this year of the minus tide, so you can see how far that goes.
Will you share it with us right now? Are you able to do that?
Oh, I could share. Sure. Hold on. Right buttons. So that's the old dock.
Holy crap.
Yeah, that's what it would take.
Mhm. Yeah, because that's all rocks there.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And I have a photo that I took that shows the minus. It was a -3, I think it was. It's in my documents of next to the current ferry dock that I'll post up on the page as well. I have to go hunting for that one. It's on the site also, but I have to go find it.
Thank you. Well, some more thoughts that we can get to the Ferry Advisory Committee. What else would you like to see? What would enable you as a boater, those of you that are boaters, what would enable you to be able to get people picked up easily from that area?
I was muted. I said a dock.
What we can't have, right?
Or in this
Yeah, I have a very big, old, heavy old exhibition boat, about 40 feet long. And, you know, I can't take it into the scenic estate dock because at low tide, it's only, you know, that I draw 5 feet. So, you know, it'd have to be something pretty substantial for me to use it. I've thought about that, but then I'm going like, I have to go anchor someplace and get everybody into a dinghy.
Mhm.
Yeah, no, you have to have something that's more of a skiff type boat. It's like, I can land my boat on the beach. It's got a fairly high bow, but you could, you know, put a ladder up or something like that and hop on, and I could probably pull in the same place Chris could. But, you know, my boat is not something that you'd be very comfortable going anywhere in. It's just an open 18-foot skiff.
So, yeah, I mean, so there again, the landing craft is ideal, right? To load people on once you come down the stairs, but a regular boat, it's gonna present the same problems of climbing aboard and.
Mhm.
Yeah, I saw yesterday a catamaran that was landing up on Isle Air Beach. And I think that belongs to like some tour company or something. But they were coming in and picking up people, and he just pulls his cat right up onto the beach, just pops his bow onto the beach and extends a ladder. These folks climbed up the ladder, picked up their dog, threw it into the cat and took off. They didn't even get their feet wet.
Yeah,
I saw that too. Yep. Saw them
Mhm.
coming in.
they do that on Sunset Beach all the time too.
Yeah, well, that's where they were. It was kind of right on the line between Sunset and Isle Air. Yeah.
So Mary and all, one of the thoughts I'm having as we're talking about this is this year, the existing ramp that's sitting up in the parking area that's owned by the county that was not deployed at all this year. In my
Mhm.
mind, we could easily make a connection point right next to the ferry dock and put even a temporary crane, you know, off the existing structure to lift that up and down out of the water. And you
Mhm.
could lower that and anybody could go into any boat just with the distance that it is from the shore. I mean, it's amazingly big.
Mhm.
The county already owns it, so maybe that's something
Hmm.
that we could bring to the Ferry Advisory Committee and say, hey, let's make use of what we already got. Just put up a temporary crane for us. And even if it's only for urgent or emergency use, even if it
Mhm.
still has to be only by the fire department or the captains of the boat, at least we have something now and it's readily available. Just a thought.
Okay, that's a great idea, Chris.
Yeah.
And that would be a ramp rather than stairs, which would be even better. I'm sure it wouldn't be ADA compliant as far as pitch goes, but it's a lot easier to get somebody in a stretcher down a ramp than it is to go down a stairway.
So
Um,
Chris, where would the crane be installed?
In my brain, if they let me do it,
Mhm.
the existing steel structure that lifts the ramp up and down is ideal to add a steel I-beam out over the water with a winch on top of it to easily make it work. That's what I would do my redneck style.
But did you feel like their objection to ever having anything attached to the dock would prohibit that?
Yeah,
Probably.
but if it is just for the captains to decide
Right.
or the fire department to be able to deploy it, then that meets their standard that they've already established, that no public person will be able to use it, but the fire department or the captains of the Whatcom chief will be able to deploy it.
Got it.
So
Now,
Chris,
whether
the
or not they
ramp-
would let a vessel come in that's not by a licensed captain, Roland said they're still trying to figure that out because they realize that the fire department should be able to authorize somebody to do that. In this case, it would be me with my boat or a designated person. And that's what they're working through with their legal department right now. But that would be a quick fix to what we
To
have.
get us, yeah, that would get us to being able to solve this problem until they get the pedestrian ramp built for the new ferry dock, and that will go away. A lot of this will go away when the new ferry dock is built.
So Chris, the ramp would just get people down to beach, right? You still need to.
Well,
come
it would
in-
hover out over the water. So it would actually not go to the beach ever because that ramp's long enough that I think even at a minus tide, it wouldn't hit just the beach. It would be in the water. But with a proper type of winch on top, you can set it wherever, just like they do the ramp for the ferry. They're
Yeah.
able to raise and lower that and
Yeah.
lock it in place. The same concept.
So you're thinking a regular boat, not a landing craft, could pull up to that then?
Sure, you just
Yeah.
set it at a certain level and you just pull right up to it.
Or maybe you put a string of those can dock floats out there, right? There.
Yeah.
Might be an option, yeah.
Oh, so you're saying add that in addition?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a great idea, just to use that existing resource.
Well, I'm sure the county has existing docks. I know they do.
Right.
That are sitting and doing nothing that they could very easily deploy there. And maybe that's something we want to suggest is, hey, they got to get something installed before the new docks go in, something usable now. I don't know.
That's kind of that. I think that's the approach that I would like to ask LIFAC to push for. And I'm going to check with the folks that had their emergency. And just because I'd like to share that one, that happened, because it's like having a scheduled surgery is not an emergency, but it's pretty damn urgent. You really need to be there. You don't want to go scheduling, missing those things, and doctor's appointments and stuff like that. Yeah. And I don't know, coming up with a list of people that have boats that you could call in that kind of a situation would be a good thing. That if there were people that had boats to go. And Chris, when I was talking with him on that, he said that his boat could go, and if it could they could maybe have some other qualified operators or something.
So, you know, what's kind of puzzling to me is why the county is saying they have to wait until the docks, get changed for the new boat. Because I've talked to Rich Hudson, and he actually did a bunch of work for me on this, my new house here in the excavation and stuff. And we had a number of conversations, but what he told me is that the ramp and the physical elevator, the structure, for the ramp is not going to change. The only thing that has to change is the actual, the pilings and the profile to fit the new ferry. So the dock itself, the actual ramp isn't changing. So, it's not like they have to wait for a new, because they're going to put in a whole new different ramp structure on each end, which would be hugely expensive if they did. What I understood from my conversation with Rich, and I can see if he'll talk to me about it, he may not if I find out what I'm involved in here, but it is that, so there's not a really reason why unless it's simply money, could be, but there's no physical reason why they couldn't, go through the design and put in that ramp and dock, be working on that now. I mean, they're kind of two different things here. The new ferry is, basically you're changing the arrangement of the pilings and the slot that it goes into.
The
to fit the
dolphins.
profile of the boat. You're not changing that ramp. Unless something else has happened in between, but I don't think you're looking at that. So question is, why aren't they working on that now?
Boy, that's wonderful knowledge, Tim.
That's a
Yeah,
good question.
that is something that definitely.
We had and this is back a ways because it's been, but we had a bit of a conversation about it. And I know boats, and he kind of respects that. And we had a lot of talking about it. So I don't know why the county's saying we have to wait for 5-6 years until the new ferry is there to put in this dock, if that's what they're saying. Why, if they're saying it's money, then they could be doing like an emergency proposal right now and trying to get that in and get that independently funded, not as some part of a big package. It may just be a bureaucratic issue here about we want to do it all together and make it easy for ourselves. But that's something we should look. I think we should maybe check into that and maybe we can ask the ferry committee to look into this and say, why can't the dock be done now? And what they actually say, because unless something has changed, I mean, if they have to rebuild the whole structure on each end of the dock with new ramps and new lifts and all that, that's a huge pile of money independent of the damn ferry.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think they're going to do that. They're going to be putting in new pilings and bumpers and whatever else to match the new profile of the new ferry.
Yeah, they're only changing the dolphins, I think.
Yay.
No, that sounds like really. I will ask them. Is there anybody that would like to come and talk at LIFAC?
Maybe the ferry committee could be looking at that. I mean, that's not making that inquiry on our behalf perhaps if we can, or something. I'm not sure how we do all this stuff, but.
Yeah, my thought was just to press the ferry committee, to press the county, to let them know that we really do need to have some kind of an interim solution.
Well, or maybe they can do the bloody thing, because they have to do engineering, they have to figure this out. But that's stuff that they can be working on, and in the scheme of things, that's not a huge amount of money.
Yeah, no, that's really good, Tim. So.
Tim, are you willing to talk with the Ferry Advisory Committee about what we've just discussed?
Oh, bloody hell, I could try, I suppose.
Yeah,
You know,
if anybody wants to come to the LIFAC meeting, I can send you the Zoom link.
Is
When
this
is
a
it?
person? This is an in-person meeting, right?
No, it's a Zoom meeting.
When is
Oh,
it?
okay. If you'll tell you what, if you'll send
It's-
me, I'll be happy to. You know, at least to
Uh-huh.
explore specifically that a little bit, the doc and see what they do. I will be my best to be politic as well. So,
Okay, yeah,
but
yeah.
if you want to send that, sure.
The LIFAC meeting is on Wednesday night, this coming Wednesday. It starts at 6 p.m. and the first order of business is public comment.
Okay.
And you can do a 3-minute comment on anything you want. They like you to have something just written up as to submit to the committee ahead of time. And if you, and I can give you the address and stuff like that for doing the contacts and stuff like that.
Okay. Is Wednesday the 14th, or is that?
Wednesday would be, yeah, I think that would be the 14th. Today's the 10th.
I have another thing going on with the scenic estates thing here, so I
Okay.
may be able to actually do it this time. Send me the information. Let me see if I can figure out how to juggle
Yeah.
things. Would
Wednesday's
you?
the
I'll do
13th.
something.
Yeah, but anybody can attend the LIFAC meetings, and I think that's really important for people to attend those meetings to kind of keep track of what's going on. I will try to put something together that will reflect what you said, Tim, because I think that's a good idea.
Yeah,
And Chris,
Yeah, Rich, don't say that Rich Hudson said.
no, I won't. Rich is usually at the meetings. So, you know, and Roland Middleton, the county engineer, is usually there.
That'd be a fun.
Yeah, there's.
Mary,
there's-
if
good.
we submit something in writing, is that something they can just read? Or do you have to
Yes.
physically be in a Zoom meeting to?
Nope, you can submit something in writing.
I'll submit my ideas then in writing, so you have it for that Wednesday.
What I would do, yeah, send it to me and I can forward it to the committee.
Okay, good.
Or you can send it directly to Rama Blake. And Rama's email address. I just. Sorry,
Wednesday is the 13th.
it's the 13th, okay.
It's at the 13th?
Yeah, 13th.
Oh, I could then. So let's see, send me the information and. we'll put
Okay.
them here.
I'll send it out to everybody and I'll
Good.
just, you know, and if you want to go to the meeting, and it's worth listening to them.
Yeah, no, I might, if I can, I might, just because I'm actually very interested, like, why are we not doing something? So, all right,
Okay, and Chris, yeah, I'll just send out Rama's contact, and there's also a address that automatically will send email out to everybody on the Ferry Advisory Committee. So I'll send that email out too. Okay,
Any other comments for tonight then on what we've discussed? Anything else?
Just one question. Are these recorded Zoom meetings now only viewable by this committee, or are they going on the website?
They're on the public website.
I'm sorry?
They are on the website.
Okay, just curious.
That's why I was saying that we needed a general statement about what we were about.
Yeah,
Love it.
okay.
All right, if there's nothing else, we'll
Yeah,
come to.
there's one more. Can I
Go
say
ahead,
something?
Christie.
I'm probably among you the least knowledgeable on the subject, so I've been kind of fiddling, wondering what I can do that's of use. And so I am pretty good with a hammer, even though I don't enjoy it. But I was thinking about, actually, I inherited all my dad's tools. I just rather see other people use them. But anyway, I was thinking about land, and I just really am impressed by how she's come on. And I was thinking if there's any way I can assist her. I'm pretty good at grunt work. I'm journal editor and all sorts of things. So I love being in the background. And if there's something close to useless I can do that doesn't take both lobes, I'm fine. So,
Hey, I'm the dark. I look rather much like I'm in the witness protection program, I
oh,
realize.
you are, I do.
And I'm not. Christine, that would be great.
Yeah,
Why
so,
don't I
so you
give
can
you-
get my phone number and email, but
Yeah, yeah.
I have, right now, all this is focused on that one of 2 weeks in the year where my grandchildren are coming.
Oh, okay.
So I'm kind of shot, but I can do short things until they leave on the 22nd. So anyway, all I want to say though is don't take me as being mildly interested. I am interested, but I need to come in where I can provide some energy. So I was thinking if you can use me in some way, I'm available. I also type really well.
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay.
Perfect. Alan,
The photo of the low tide picture is up on the website.
Okay, great. We're gonna meet next Sunday, same time, same place. Will that work for people?
good for me.
Okay. Yeah, Sunday's a good night for me, so, okay. All right.
We'll
I
look
will
forward to
send the
seeing
link
y'all
out.
again next Sunday.
Thanks, guys.
Very good.
Thanks for
Thank
all your
you.
work.
Thanks all.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Chris.
Mary.
Thank
All
You're
good,
welcome.
everybody.